Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our webinar on last-minute tips, strategies for Prime Day. We are thrilled to have you guys join us today. With Prime Day just around the corner, actually like 3 weeks away as of yesterday, we know how critical it is to make the most out of these massive sales events. So whether you're a seasoned seller or you're gearing up for your first Prime Day, today's session is going to be packed with valuable insights and actionable strategies to help maximize your success. My name is Mark Perone, and I'm the head of partnerships here at FeedVisor. I'm also joined with a ton of my colleagues and also partners here, one of which is Matt Wasone. Matt is the associate director at FeedVisor. He's got a deep understanding of customer needs and has helped numerous clients achieve their e-commerce goals. Next, we have our good friends and colleagues at Carbon6, Ali Ramirez. She's the director of strategic partnerships at Carbon6 and has a keen eye for identifying opportunities and building relationships that benefit all parties involved. Last but not least, we have Vanessa Hung. She's the founder of Seller Assist by Carbon6, and Vanessa is a renowned expert in the Amazon community. A handful of you guys probably know her. She's known for her dedication to helping sellers navigate the complexities of the online marketplace. We are extremely excited to have you guys join us today. We're going to be covering a wide variety of topics. A handful here of what you'll see will be primarily 4. Number 1 will be how to optimize your listing and pricing strategies in the final days leading up to Prime Day. Number 2 will be the effective advertising techniques to increase visibility and drive traffic to your products. Number 3 will be inventory management best practices and how to avoid stock out and maximize your sales. And last but not least, we'll finish up with post-Prime Day strategies and how to maintain momentum to capitalize on your efforts. Now, as always, guys, as speakers, we highly encourage you to interact with us throughout the session. So please feel free to drop or submit your questions in the chat box. We'll address these during the Q&A segment at the end of the webinar. And again, we know how busy you folks are. So thank you again for joining us. We're excited to share these insights with you and help make the most out of Prime Day and hopefully make this the most successful one yet. So without further ado, I'm going to roll into the first slide, which is deal fatigue. So by no stretch of the imagination is this a new phenomenon for you folks, right? Deal fatigue is the real deal. Amongst consumers, we've seen this rapidly increasing over the past few months. And we're attributing this to actually smaller yet more frequent events, the ones that have dominated in the past 2 months. So think of like Amazon Big Box Spring Sale or Summer Beauty Haul or Target Circle Week. And because of these events, consumers are actually increasingly desensitized to discounts, which is kind of funny, right? The more you put down discounts, the more people are getting sick and tired of seeing them. So it is making it harder to catch consumers' attentions with these sales. These are just one key trend of what we're currently seeing. The next key trend of what we're going to be moving down to is trading down. Very similar to like deal fatigue. This is not a new phenomenon, but it's something consumers are increasingly doing. Right, I'll be the first one to raise my hand and say, me and my family are definitely trading down with aspects, and I think the research backs that up. We're seeing here at FeedVisor roughly 79% of folks are adopting cost-saving measures like purchasing quantities or pack sizes, or opting for lower-priced retailers, or switching to budget-friendly brands. And this behavior is becoming especially more prominent during the sales such as Prime Day, when consumers can look to snag the biggest deals on items that they need the most. To toss another stat at you guys, roughly 52% of shoppers have reported they purchased items that they've been waiting to go on sale during the event, which I do find pretty interesting. When we look at this trend, we look at some of the most popular categories in Prime Day of last year. One of the best parts of working at FeedVisor is we work with all of these various types of wonderful customers, and we provide so much information back to those customers in return. But we can see here, right, that the essential items, specifically looking at the top three, where you have apparel, and then sports and outdoors, and home and garden leading the way. Like I mentioned, FeedVisor puts out a lot of awesome, amazing content. It's just one of the facets of how we go about doing our business. We work with both resellers and private labels within the advertising and also the repricing space. But we're able to come out with trends. So we take a look, and then based on these trends of what happened in the past, the last year, and then looking at what's currently happening today, we're able to forecast this year's Prime Day and come out and saying some of the top performing categories will be home goods, health and beauty, and then also apparel. Can you go to the next slide, please? Thanks. In addition, is that Amazon Prime Day has become more than a source of revenue. It's definitely a key component for brands and the Q4 strategy. We're seeing here definitely at FeedVisor, and I'm sure the folks at Carbon6 are seeing the same, is that folks are taking more and more time to get ready for not only Prime Day and build the preparation of how they want to go about their pricing or their advertising or their inventory and replenishment efforts, and getting everyone entirely aligned and on the same page of how this should be done. But they're also taking the time, just understanding that they really don't have that much time ahead of them going into the Q4 holidays, to make sure that everyone is aligned and on the same page of how they plan to execute on a day-to-day basis. So despite there being exactly 3 weeks before the event, we definitely encourage you folks to take the time, sit down with your team, and understand what's the goal and objectives that you guys want to be able to conquer during this event.
So one thing that is important to understand with reimbursements, and by the way, guys, we have the Q&A section enabled for you to make questions or reach out if you have any comment or clarification. So the chat is not enabled, but the Q&A is, and we're going to be dropping there some links in case you need it. But going back to what we need to do prior Prime Week right now, and back to what Mark was saying, now it all started with one day out of the year. Now it's a whole week where we can do promotions. And one of the important things, and this is something that I get a lot from the feedback from the community, is that not everybody likes Prime Day. And a lot of people decide not to participate in Prime Day, which is a completely understandable thing because the deals in Prime Day are very, very expensive. But one thing that you should consider, even though you're not participating in the big lining deals, coupons, or countdown deals or anything like that, you could still participate on the traffic and leverage that, because it is obvious that during that week, the traffic increases on Amazon, and this is what we want to leverage. So the first thing, it's define what are your goals. It's totally fine if you decide not to participate in the countdown lining deals or anything like that. But if you are not thinking about leveraging those tools, then what are you going to do to leverage the traffic? So set some KPIs. So if you're driving traffic externally to Amazon and getting that, bonus referral program, because even though you don't have the Prime Day, you could still do it and then get the bonus. The other thing, which is kind of a more like a housekeeping thing that you need to do, is download your category listing report. So that's a flat file. If you scan the QR code, you will go to a page, a blog post that I wrote about how to download that if you don't have access to it, how to request access. But it is important because during Prime Day, if you are in a category that is highly competitive, this is where hijackers thrive. They are out there before Prime Day, just 1 day or 2 days before Prime Day, trying to hijack listings, and things can go wrong. You can get changed from category, you can be de-indexed. So it's the type of things that you want to protect yourself by downloading the category listing report and making sure that you have that data. In case that something happens, you upload that data again back to Amazon, and that's how you fix it. And hopefully you don't need to open the case with seller support, but that's one thing on the preventive side that you should always have. And then if you're participating, make sure that all of your promotions and coupons are, in align with the dates, that you have adequate stock. So that's one thing that is important. Every year, Prime Week or Prime Day has grown year over year. So 2023 was the biggest in history, and I think Amazon wants to beat that in this year. So with a lot of programs, like, they give discounts if you buy in bulk, like Amazon give discounts to customers to buy in bulk. So things like that are really important. So make sure that you have enough stock if you're participating, and if you're not, to have enough to run the other promotions. So that's one thing that I heard one time. If you have a very highly competitive niche and you're not participating in a lining deal or anything like that, but you're looking at your competition and your competition runs out of inventory, this is where you come in and you become relevant. So even though you're not participating in the primary event, you always have like a tailgate or a halo effect on all of the traffic that is here. And also plan for stockouts. So if you're getting out of stock, what's your plan B? Do you have enough inventory to do like FBM for a couple of days, so you can replenish that and never run out of inventory, which is a huge thing nowadays. And one thing to consider also is if you're building your numbers for Prime Day, make sure that you account for the low inventory fee. If you think that you can run in stock out, if you can get out of inventory, then the low inventory fee will be very painful if you go into that and you don't prepare for that in the pricing and the discount. It could kill your profitability. So in the next slide, you will see a program that we have, a new program that we have in Carbon 6. That's Seller Assist. That's the newest tool that we offer. That's the thing that I'm leading. So if you scan the QR code, you will see all of the things in our landing page, and you will also be able to join us in the waiting list, which in reality goes to my calendar, and you will be able to book a link with me so we can explain how we can back your operations. So every meeting that you need to be done in Seller Central prior this day and moving forward, all of the things that we will be able to do for you in catalog protection, inventory management, account health and promotions, and brand registry programs. So this is super exciting. And I'm going to pass it to Ali now to talk, to Matt, to talk about the tactics on advertising.
Thanks, Vanessa. I appreciate that. And I think it was a really great segment and good segue into my area here. We're going to talk about how you can build momentum leading into Prime Day, starting with advertising. So as Vanessa mentioned, you don't need to have Prime Day deals or anything else like that. You can, of course, they're very expensive, but you will have more traffic. So keep that in mind as we talk through advertising, how that affects every facet of it. So first things first, you really want to take advantage of the full suite of advertising options that Amazon has to offer. Sponsored product, of course, the most popular, the highest conversion rate, the most efficient. But there's also brand awareness, and there's brand sponsored brands and sponsored display campaigns as well. So kind of using this full funnel over time will really help you get your customers to where you need. If you're just starting out right now, like 3 weeks to go, like we are, it's really a little bit too late for those top upper funnel campaigns. I would really recommend going for sponsored product. You're a little lower on the funnel, and as I said before, more efficient on your conversions. You really want to review your ad budget. Right? If you can, if your budget allows for it, this is a perfect time to invest in ramping up your ad budget, specifically looking at your campaign level budgets and also the account level. If you do have an account level cap on there as well, we'll discuss a little bit more. So think about this. When you first launched the campaign, you made a budget. Before you even knew how well this is going to run, how much you're going to spend on it, you put a $50 a daily budget on the campaign. But over time, it's only spending maybe $25. And you just become consistent on that. There's only so much traffic we do have on normal days. But on days like Prime Days and Prime Week, the traffic exponentially grows, and that budget will be tested. So it's absolutely critical that you look at your budgets on your campaign level and on the account level. For those that aren't familiar, you can set a cap on the campaign level. This is a really interesting thing in that you can set this cap, but it's a little misleading in that it only is a cap for sponsored products. So really look at, if you do a sponsored display or sponsored brands, make sure you look at that. And also Amazon only has two options. So it says that you'll spend 25% more than that cap or 100% more than the cap. That cap is not the actual cap. You can go above that, and the lowest option you can pick is 25%. Something to really think about, especially given the extra traffic. Third in the list here is refreshing your creative. You did all this work, you got someone to your listing, but your PDP fails. That's a tragedy, and that's just, you need to be retail ready to advertise anything. Right? Our best practice is 5 images, 1 video. You know, if you can have A+ content, there's a brand or some sort, then that really will help boost that up. But it's super critical to have, once you got them in the door, you don't want them to walk out. Optimizing keywords, harvesting these, and bidding optimization, right? You should anticipate an increase in spending. As we said before, the traffic will be there. There'll be more people there. There'll be more clicks, right? It's a pay-per-click strategy here. And so review your active keywords, pause those irrelevant ones, give it a good look over to minimize your wasted spend. This is your last chance to really launch new campaigns. We do recommend at least 2 to 3 weeks of ramping up. So if you are going to launch anything, now's the time. It might be a little bit tight on it, but we really want to give it more time to get historical data. You understand which keywords are working, understand which bids are proper for you as well. Having an optimization software for your bids is essential to prevent wasted spend. There's plenty out there, but obviously FeedVisor, I believe, is the best. And if you do, we do have that available. It automates your bidding. It automates your harvesting of keywords that are relevant automatically for you. And the last thing I have on this slide here is tracking your ad spend. We're going to talk about this more later in the discussion, but it's not, data is power. Understanding how you tracked is very important. It's a lot of window shoppers right now, or even maybe after July 4th, be a little bit more. But people are adding to cart, they're looking at things, they're not buying. So it's costing you ad money, you're not converting quite yet, but hopefully that will come through at the end. So don't get discouraged if your ad cost increases right now. Next slide. So putting a hat on, like if you're reading this or seeing this a few days before Prime Day, limited amount you can really do, but you can always review your budgets. As we said before, that's something so simple, but can be overlooked really easily. And then refreshing your creative. Make sure it's the latest images. Make sure it's refreshed. You see these things every day, but look at it again and get a fresh set of eyes. Is this picture great? Do I have a video on here? Do I have the 5 pictures there? And if you're in a pinch, you can always use a generative AI to refresh your creative as well. I'm going to pass the ball back to Mark. He's going to talk about free Prime Day pricing tips.
Yeah, I appreciate it, Matt. And very similar to advertising, pricing goes hand in hand. So pricing strategically to drive conversion and improve best sales rank. When you have Prime Day deals running, your pricing should help drive conversion and improve sales rank. So ranking towards the top of sellers ahead of Prime Day will give you the prime real estate to be able to drive significant organic sales. And then by doing so, you actually will have to not lean as much on your advertising efforts. So you'll be spending a little less on the advertising side. Then we also want to be able to look at the slow moving items with more aggressive pricing. So have a laser focus on the slow movers. Start to liquidate those items. They've been not moving or not selling. There's no reason to have them. On the flip side of things, make sure that you're looking into and double checking your inventory and price accordingly for FBA fees. Amazon is always on the lookout for various ways that they can, slap you on the wrist and make sure that they're holding more of your inventory. So make sure that you double check what inventory you do have on in stock, and then also the ones that are just sitting there currently not moving, because we want to definitely avoid those long and short term storage fees. And as we move down, we want to increase and ramp up pricing ahead of Prime Day, which kind of sounds a little counterintuitive. So leading up to Prime Day, we want to strategically increase the price, right? And then when Prime Day promotions begin, you can often offer discounts or special deals for, at a higher starting point. For an example, you might advertise the product now or in the next week or so at $60, right? And then at Prime Day, we move it down to 45. What you're doing is, you're bringing the market up, or you're hoping you're bringing the market up, and then, you're really showing that you're putting on a significant discount of the $45 during the Prime Day segment. So with that, I'm going to transition it over to Ali.
All right, thank you. So we all know Prime Day can really equal a lot more returns. And because more returns can also really equal FBA reimbursements and opportunities, that's what we're going to talk about today. Next slide. So a couple of things that we really want to highlight. We all know the size that an Amazon warehouse is. And because of how many packages come in and out all day long, especially during high seasons like Prime Day, we want to make sure that all sellers know that they may be owed money. So even if you're already filing via your own team or via another service, we actually want to highlight how important it is during this time to audit what your current processes are. Because 1% of our 3P FBA sellers are actually part of this that are owed money. Next slide. So currently, Amazon has been focused on their profitability, and we really know that this is the time for us to make sure that all sellers are looking at their profitability in addition to their sales. So you can look on this graph on the right that from 2015 all the way to last year in 2023, it's severely gone up from 70% to 76% to all the way to 100% to how much we as sellers are actually covering the cost or supplementing the cost of the logistics. So fulfilling orders are now 100% covered by sellers because of, we know all the fees have gone up. So currently, because they're focusing on profitability, how can you also focus on it? It's by making sure that reimbursements are top of mind at all times. Next slide. So a couple of things for reimbursements best practice is first off, you want to make sure your account is never suspended due to any of the cases that you're going to be submitting. We want to make sure that the TOS, anyone that you're using is fully TOS compliant, just like Seller Investigators is, making sure that they're identifying all of your losses, looking all the data ledgers, all the settlement reports, all of the things that will be required to be able to initiate each and every one of these individual case filings that need to be submitted. All of the cases that are then submitted also need to be opened and monitored and ensure that if we need to send additional rebuttals, additional things, are able to be handled adequately. And then it's rinsing and repeat. So it is a very long back and forth process with Amazon. And when you have to multiply this with multiple SKUs, we understand it's going to be a very heavy process, which is really what we're here to do for you and make sure that you can handle additional parts of your business rather than worrying about submitting each and every one of these individual cases. Next slide. So here are the categories that you want to make sure are being handled, and Seller Investigators together with FeedAdvisor handles all of these categories. So we've got inbound shipments, lost items, damaged items, customer returns, and overages. And we're going to look at a case study real quick to see how customer returns can actually affect a very large portion of somebody's money that's owed by Amazon. And there's a few in there, there's subcategories, sorry, just one more second on the back slide. So there's a few subcategories within all of these 5. So all together, this is what we can ensure where you're getting the maximum benefit, not just from main categories, but additional new subcategories that have been added as well. Next slide. So here's an example for every $1 million in sales, and this is from a real case study that was done. Over 12 months recovery, we can see on the first line between inbound shipments, lost items, damaged items, and customer returns, there's a very large cumulative amount. There's 7,700, 3,400, 350, and 700. So that first line is representing the first 12 months of recovery for every $1 million in sales. So imagine if you're multi-million-dollar seller, this really doubles and should triple, especially during high times like Prime Day and like Black Friday coming up as well. If you look at the look back period, which is on the bottom, $2,300, $950, $100. All of these also add up, not only in the first or the 12 months that you're working with a reimbursement solution, but also look back period can add additional funds reimbursed because there's a full 18 months that can be looked back on. And all of these audits, typically there's about 25 to 30% that is typically missed by current processes. So this is where we always say audit your current process. If you are doing reimbursements via your own team, via some VAs or an additional competitor, just make sure you do an audit. Next slide. Lastly is a case study here. So this first case study that we're going to look at, it was a $15 million account that was using 2 leading competitors in the past. When the audit was conducted, we found about $40,000, $40,241 to be exact, in missed recoverable money. So we can see it's divided up by all of these categories. Now, customer returns looked like a small number on our previous slide. However, for this exact example, if we go down to customer returns, I don't have a pointer, but customer returns is that 5th one on the left-hand side. It constitutes for about $29,000 in potential value. And in total, that was at $40,000. Now, unfortunately, some of these cases, there's 14 of these, that was a potential value of about $2,000 were completely expired. So in that 18-month look back period that was done, we found a very large number that we could go after, but about 14 were expired. So this is where it's always good to be looking at processes. And as you saw, the number, the total cumulative, 50% of that came from customer returns. Next slide. Here's another example of a reseller, $90 million seller. They were doing recovery services for about 10 months when this case study was put together. And total recovery amount that was given back to this customer was about $894,000 returned to that seller. Over 6,700 separate cases, individual cases were completely filed, and they were mainly coming from missing inbound shipments and lost and damaged inventory that went to the warehouse. Also, in the last 90 days, Seller Investigators was able to find an additional $90,000 when we started looking at customer returns category. So again, additional areas where we can really find a lot of money and have a success rate as good as this one, which success rate for this category in customer returns is about 98%. Next slide. So a couple of the tactics that you want to make sure you're doing. So maximum look back period with whoever you're working with. Again, Seller Investigators will do that 18-month look back period, weekly audits instead of on a monthly basis, and having an immediate case being filed on your behalf. All the standout categories that we've mentioned, the customer returns being the most important one, FBA overages, removals, lost in transit, lost packages, canceled shipments. All these categories are the ones that are going to maximize the amount of reimbursements. And you want to make sure that you're working with somebody that is fully TOS compliant. You can look at the badges that you have here on the page on the right. You have the Amazon SPN, so that's the software partner program with Amazon. And you want to ensure that whoever you are working with has these badges, meaning that they're fully vetted by Amazon themselves. Additional things that you can look back is having clawback coverage. So having full reversal to you in the case where Amazon does refund you. So you want to make sure that you have clawback coverage and full transparency. You want to be able to see where every single one of this dollar is coming from, what cases, so that you can also help mitigate them in the future. Last slide. And you can actually get started today. You can use this QR code. We'll also send it after the webinar to do a free reimbursement audit, have 95.9 success rate, and work with both Seller Investigators and FeedVisor on this.
So we already talked, guys, about the things that you should do prior Prime Day on advertising and pricing, and in general, all of the operational work that you need to do with the reimbursements. But then what are the things that you need to do during that week or, well, the day of, right? The first thing is check the flash sales and the countdown deals. Those are the things that you will find, in the page when they feature it. It will be the front and center of the homepage on Amazon. And one thing that I noticed in the past, in previous Prime days, is that sometimes those countdowns are broken. So it says that it has only 1 day away from expiring, or that you already sold a bunch of inventory when in reality you didn't. So be sure that if you're participating, be on top of that, because it tends to be broken. And the other thing is that a strategy to just create some FOMO is that you can shrink and expand the amount of inventory available for that countdown. So you could say oh, we have, I don't know, only 10 units, and the bar will go super high if somebody buys one, or if you have 1,000, then it will go really low. If we go to the next slide, the other thing that I love about Prime Day and some of the brand registry programs that are available, as you can see in the next one, is the Amazon post. So the next slide. Yeah, perfect. So it's Amazon posts, and that's something that a lot of people really overlooked, the possibility of doing posts. If you have any kind of content, honestly, I've been working with a lot of sellers that are leveraging AI for their Amazon posts, integrating with AI and Canva. They do hundreds of posts a month, just in 5 minutes with the Canva automation and their product. So this thing will be really featured during the Prime Day, especially in categories like fashion and clothing and accessories. When you shop on those type of pro detail pages, at the bottom right now, there is a section where it says shop the look or shop similar styles. So Amazon is taking the content that you put in posts to show customers the similarity between things that they're looking at. But even if you're not participating in the deals, now you can be featured on your competitor's page by having a post that is related to what you're selling and what the category is selling. If we go to the next slide, the last thing is leveraging the marketing tools that you have. So if you're doing anything outside of Amazon, even when you're not participating, you should leverage the hashtags like Prime Deals, deal of the day, or those things on TikTok and Instagram. They get a lot of traffic. And if you connect your backend attribution to your bio or the link wherever somebody else might be shopping, then you can get that bonus referral program back, which is 10% of everything that they spend. So that's very interesting, leveraging again that traffic that is already going into Amazon, that is already paying attention in social media. You will start seeing a lot of different influencers and people that make content around products that they get a percentage. Leverage those hashtags because people are paying attention. So that's a huge thing that you could do that week or the day of Prime Day.
So lead out considerations. So let's think about, put our hats on, actually after Prime Day now. And as I said before, data is power. So there's so much data that comes out of Prime Day. And the good news is it's customized to you when you have the proper tools to investigate this. So how did your sales go, right? Did sales dip down leading into Prime Day, and then did it bounce up and then dip back down, leading out to exactly like a net? Or was it actually a momentum builder for you? Did your advertising strategies work? How did that extra spend you put on there work? Or how did that capping that 1 day, how did that work out? Did it really add to more organic sales for you? So it's a lot of testing we can do, a lot of tagging we do, but afterwards you can really understand a lot of information by looking through how you performed during Prime Day. A couple other things on this budget utilization, right? I talked about this before, but understanding how much of your budget you used for each campaign. So again, like I said before, you put a $20 a day budget out there. You haven't looked at it in a very long time, but during Prime Day, some items went 100%. That budget was used by noon. Like that's not good. You wasted some money there. And there's some budgets you have that only $5 of the $20 spent. So you learn from these mistakes the next time around, next tentpole event, next Cyber 5 that's coming up very soon. you kind of allocate that budget from the one that underperformer to the higher performer, right? So you don't lose out on that. But definitely reviewing the performance is critical after Prime Day. Next slide. Replenishment. I think a couple of us have really talked a lot about this, but lo and behold, you're getting out of Prime Day, you're gearing up for Q4. How are you getting ahead of your inventory, your setbacks? I mean, fees that Amazon has now in terms of low stock fees or even excess inventory fees, either way you kind of look at it. So you'll definitely need to leverage technology, understand your replenishment, understand what the velocity was that you were selling at, understand what you have on hand, what you can source, what you can't source, and make sure that you're avoiding these extra fees. Here at FeedVisor, we actually have some specific strategies for pricing if you are in that low inventory fee, right? Or if you're in that excess inventory fee, we'll manipulate the price a bit to help you avoid them as much as possible. On the replenishment side, we have multiple reports. We have plenty of data and understanding of how fast you're selling compared to how much you have on hand, how much is coming in. So you can really understand how much to really supply and have for Q4 and other tentpole events that are upcoming fast. I'm going to pass the ball to, I believe it's Allie at this point.
Next slide. So some considerations you want to make sure that you always have with your reimbursements is monitoring those open cases. So I know we mentioned like these are the tips to make sure to keep aware. So not letting those cases fall through the cracks, because we know that some of these cases require additional escalations, additional documentation. So monitoring those open cases is essential, because once that's opened, if they do deny it, it might be hard or even impossible to open them up again. Making sure that your provider is covering, as we've mentioned, customer returns and the clawbacks. Clawbacks really do happen very, very frequently, especially during high seasons like Prime Day. So it's essential that whoever you're working with, and if you're not working with them, go ahead and do a free audit with us, who we do have that clawback and customer returns. And then you could just ensure that you're not missing out on this money. As you've seen in the case studies, we have found money for customers that are using other competitor services or their own team. So it's just always good to do that for you.
So even with the limited time, so as we all mentioned, you have roughly three weeks. There are definitely quick, easy ways for you guys to get as much information as you possibly can. I know FeedVisor, and along with Carbon6, our marketing teams truly do a fabulous job of putting out tremendous content, specifically around Prime Day guides, playbooks, blogs, videos. So dive into those. These things are amazing. They're jam-packed with 20, 40, 60 pages of extremely rich content, taking into account years and years of Prime Day action. Looking down pre-Prime Day, build a strong foundation and prioritize strategic preparation, compliance, and building momentum. So again, going back into just strategizing in advance as to how you guys are planning to execute for the upcoming day, and then using that momentum into the holiday season and throughout Q4. And then the day of, maximize the impact with strategies that drive sales and enhance visibilities. So whether that's, updating your pricing strategies to optimize for maximize sales or revenue, have a set goal of what you're looking to accomplish during this Prime Day. It's always better than that to kind of just going in blindly and hoping for the best, because sometimes you're going to get taken back as to what you see, especially when you do the last bullet, your post Prime Day data glance, right? This is something we do all the time. We're taking a look at what was the trends that we hit, what were the ones that we missed, what were things that kind of just blew our wildest imaginations away. And you should be doing the exact same for your business. So it's important to make sure that you're going back and you're sitting down with all your folks and digesting what performed well, what should we be doing again, what should we be scaling back on. This is only going to help you not only for Prime Day, but also going into Q4 as well. So Vanessa and Allie and all the folks at Carbon6, thanks again for joining us here, and Matt, as always, appreciate your time, and all those who are listening and will listen to this recording. we wish you the best of luck. All of us are very available, not necessarily always available, but contact us, whether it's LinkedIn or email. We'll be more than happy to set up a call to discuss. Again, thank you and good luck on the Prime Day. We wish you all the best. Take care.